Okay, this is from week 5, day 2 notes. We're on page 5 of our chapter 2 notes. So we're going to talk about calling a variable, and then I will give an assignment that will deal with the declaring, assigning, and calling of a variable. So the first thing is I need to get my pointer. So when the value of a variable is requested for use in an assignment or concatenation. So calling a variable is when the value of a variable is requested so that it can be used in some kind of an assignment or a concatenation. So we'll see an example of that as successful. A successful call requires a matching, spelling, and capitalization of the variable's identifier. And the key word here, it's got to be a matching spelling and capitalization. So however the variable is spelled and capitalized, that's what the call, when it calls a variable, it's got to have that same spelling and capitalization. And we'll show that in a second. If the spelling and capitalization of the variable's identifier does not match the spelling and capitalization in the declaration of the variable, the compiler will give you a cannot find symbol error. So now I probably could have said this a little bit differently, but we'll show it in a second. And this probably should be if the spelling and capitalization do not match the spelling and capitalization in the declaration of the variable, you'll get the cannot find symbol error, and we'll show that in a second. The variable games1 is called when its identifier is typed without quotation marks between two concatenation operators. The variable games1 is called when its identifier is typed without quotation marks between two concatenation operators. And so now let's look at an example of all these things that we just talked about. So first of all, we're starting it from the beginning of the declaration. We declare a variable games1 as an int. And then when we compile the program, it's going to see this line first. And what it does is it sets up a memory location for that variable and gives it a name, the identifier. And then the next thing the compiler is going to see is the next line down, and at that point 15 is assigned to games1, and so it puts that value inside games1. So this is what's going on right here. This is what's going on inside the computer's memory. If you don't see this on the screen, it's in the background. The next thing, we type a print statement, and I'm using a shortcut here, so you don't want to do that at home. Don't try this at home. And so we want the Java to print this line, and so what it does, the compiler sees quotation marks and says, okay, we've got a literal string, so I'm going to print exactly what's between the two quotation marks, including this space right here. And so it prints the cardinals 1, and there's a space right here. And then the next thing it does is it sees the word games1 without quotation marks. So it assumes then that this, I'm looking for a symbol, I'm looking for a location, an identifier, games1. And so it's looking for games1, and it finds it right here. Now this is where we were talking about if you spell games1 differently than this games1, well actually, yes, different than this games1, then it will not find it. It'll say symbol can't be found. So if you type a small w right here, then okay, so I just got interrupted, and so now I'm coming back, so I'm not sure where I was, but we're talking about the games. I think the games one variable, so it says that since there's no quotation marks, it's looking for a symbol. It's looking for that symbol, and so what it does is it's looking and it sees games one up here, and this is where we were talking about if it's anything spelled differently between these two, if they don't match, then it won't find it, and you'll get the error that can't find symbol. And so the next thing that happens then is this is called a call, and so this is not a literal string. It's calling the variable games1, and it's requesting the value of that variable so that it can use it. It's requesting the value of the variable so that it can use it. And so it says, okay, my value is 15, so use it. And so what it does is then what's printed is the 15. And then the next thing that happens is the compiler sees this quotation marks and says, okay, this is a literal string, and it sees a space, games, period, and then here's the end. So it's going to print that space and games and period right here. And that is what happens, and that's your declaration, your assignment, your memory location, your printing of variables, your printing of a variable that's been called, and you're dealing with concatenation, all in one example. And that's it.